Hello, welcome along, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench, and welcome back to part 11 of the build of this little beautiful kit from Airfix. This is the 1/24 scale Bf109 G5 G6. And this is part 11, if I've not already said that. If you remember, we left you in part 10. We'd done some work on the fuselage and everything, the seams and everything, and we got on and assembled the wings. Now, the seam, I can't remember if I've done this on camera or not, I don't think I did, but I've put some Mr. Surfacer in that groove because I got it a little bit too big, and then I've basically sanded it back. Now, if you remember, there was a sink mark here, so I've sanded that back as well. Be careful of these raised rivets and be careful of this raised hatch here. So there we go. So that's that. So that's the fuselage sort of ready to go. I need to do some riveting on here where we've lost some of the rivet detail, but I won't do that on camera because it's just not interesting. What I did basically do is I come along with a little pointer tool and basically just deepen the rivets. So if we find one here you can basically run the tool over just lightly and you will find the spot where it goes. Hang on, if I keep it perpendicular to the surface it makes it better. And just push. Gentle push just to re-establish that little indentation so that when you put your washes on and stuff, it all sort of, the riveting continues over the top rather than fading out. Airfix have gone to the trouble of slide moulding the bottom for us, but as you can see where the slide mould is, you can see the rivets are slightly heavier there than they are on this side of it, so they need to be redone. And it's the same on the other side. The riveting is heavier on the side of the fuselage than it is on the slide moulded part. But that's only to be expected during the manufacturing process. It's not a slate on Airfix or anything, and it's very, very common. The riveting, I must say, on this riveting is very subtle. It's really lovely. You know, Trumpeter could do with having a look at some of this because some of their riveting is ridiculous, as we know. So we assembled these curtains. These are sort of cloth curtains that go in the wheelbase. If you remember, I said I was going to get rid of the seam, so what I've done is put some black super glue in there and sanded it out, so that seam is pretty much gone. I may do some more work with it, we shall see. So we've got to fit these in, and as you can see here, they build up and then they go in. Now, I want to make sure they absolutely fit in snugly, and the thing is, this end here, okay, this end here, we can sand that down a bit if we want to, just to thin it out a bit. But this end here, this is the end of the cloth curtain, if you like. Just make sure we don't have any burrs or edges on there. So that is going to butt into that little area there. You can see there's like a slot for it to go into. And then over here we've got a square hole, and there we have a square peg. So basically that's going to go into there, like so. Okay. It's got the peg going in there, and then this side is going to clip in behind in there. Right, and it also clips underneath that wall. But as you can see, it doesn't really want to stay there. So I've come up with a little system. So what I'm going to do is put a closed peg on here to hold that peg in there, if it will stay on there. Okay, and then what I've got here is a cotton bud. I've cut the shaft into two, so I can wedge that into there. Come on. It will work lovely off camera, it's always the bloody same. So I can wedge that in there, and that will hold that forward so it's kept up against that edge, and then another peg on here to just hold it down. Okay, so that is now firmly held in position, so it's wedged forward, it's wedged down, and it's wedged over there. So what I'm going to do is get some of the extra thin. And while I think of it, remember I talked about this low odour extra thin and using it, and it sort of tends to mark the plastic. You can see there, that's where I've put a drop down for that, and you can see what it's done. It's left a great big divot in the plastic, so be very careful with it. If that was extra thin, that would have just left a mark like that. You can see that mark there. That's what extra thin does, that's what that low odour stuff does, so be very careful with it. I'm going to use it, but I'm only going to use it on sort of structural items that don't matter, like that area there. So I've put a couple of drops there, that should be enough just to hold it for now. What I want to do is take this peg off of here and put some down in there and just give that a squeeze. I'm not worried about any usage there because it's up underneath the lower wing panel. But that is now cemented in place. Okay, so and what we'll also do, I think, is put some, if we can, we'll get some down in behind here rather than put the glue on the front. We'll get it in behind like that, and that will hopefully wick under there and get that glued in. Okay, so I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side, let it dry, and then I'll come back and we'll move forward. Okay, so they're all done. They're all glued in now, so that's our wheelbase done, ready for a nice coat of paint and some washes and everything. So moving on now, we've got the slats. So you have the option to have the slats open, hanging down, or having the slats retracted and closed. Now, every picture I've seen of this very aircraft, the RAF captured version, none of them have the slats down. Most of them have the flaps and coolers hanging out at the back. So I think I'll probably do that. But I'm definitely going to have the slats closed. On the other version I'm going to build with everything open, I'm going to have the slats out on that because I want everything out. I want it to be a very complicated looking detailed model. But there are some pictures of this aircraft with everything closed up on the back, so I may do it like that, we shall see. But maybe sort of keep it simple, stupid, So basically we need to glue these slats in. I've got them here cut off and cleaned up. And we need to be very careful not to get big globules of glue everywhere, because as you can see, when you fit them in, they're a gorgeous fit. They have this, there's a puppy hair. They have this lovely, so I've got a bit of an edge on there, I think. Go away, puppy hair. They fit in, they have this lovely little sort of line along here. We don't want glue oozing out there, we just want to leave it as a panel line like that. And also they have a little bit of play, you can see there, a little bit of play end to end. So what I'm going to do is sort of get it centered like that. Okay, right, so I can turn this over. I think I've just moved it so we can get it centered like that. I'm going to put a drop of extra thin quick setting in there and just literally hold it and don't move it because I don't want it oozing out. And I'm going to put a drop in there as well, and then just hold it in place without moving anything. Okay. And then let it go. Don't hold it for too long because you might put a warp into the wing or something. And then you can see that's in there now, and we have no glue oozing out. So what we can do now is come along the back and just put some cement in there just to make sure it's going to stay in place. But do not squeeze it because the glue will ooze out of the joint. There we go. We've got a nice neat fit there with no oozage. That's what we want. So we'll repeat the same on the other side. Whoops, don't want to go doing that. You'll see little marks all over this. It's water marks from where I washed the sprues. This kit in particular was quite oily. So something there. It's just dust. So we're going to put this into position. Make sure the back is butted up nicely. Sort of set it. It's got less end play, this one. Just want to check that it looks good from the top. Okay, so we're going to hold that like that. Drop in there and a drop in there. There we go. So that's gone in nicely, and then we can Just run some cement down the back and don't touch it. Now you can see our slats are in. No glue marks, no oozage. I've noticed I've got a sink mark here. Come on, camera focus. A tiny little sink mark there, so we'll fill that and get that dealt with. But yeah, lovely. Right, so moving along, what's going to be next? Alright, so that's our slats in. I've just done a quick dry fit of the wing, and you can see that the, chucking all over the bench, you can see that the fit of these lower wings with those slats, with regard to those slats, look at that, it's perfect, beautiful. So what we can do now is get this primed up in black, these wheel bays, and we'll get them painted with our XF22 RLMO2 grey, and we'll get some around that edge as well. What we could do is glue the wing on and then paint the bays, but the trouble is we have these holes here, 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 here and here, and we need to get some paint in behind there, otherwise we're just going to see grey plastic, and that's not really good, is it? So that's what we'll do. We'll get this primed up. Now I'm looking in the instructions. This is what I tend to do when I build. Rather than get the paint out and prime it and do the grey and everything, and then 5 minutes later have to do something else, I'm looking here, and the next bit is the tail feathers, so we'll push that to one side for now, and then we're going to go on and put all this undercarriage gear in, which we need to do. If you remember, I did that in part 9, was it, where I did the part 8 on the mods on the undercarriage legs. So I'd rather not be fitting them straight away, because that was only 48 hours ago, and I want them to be absolutely solid. But I'm looking here, we've got the radiators coming together, so we've got the option here of having everything closed up, okay, which is X, and we've got Y, which is having the radiator flap open but the wing flaps retracted, and then here we've got everything open, wing flaps lowered. I think that's the option I might go for. I'm going to check my references again. As I say, I've seen pictures. I don't think I've seen one with everything up like this. I think the pictures are basically that or that of the actual aircraft. Now, I don't know enough about the 109 to know that when it's parked, does everything just sag, or is it all mechanical? So it just, you know, it's just where the pilot happens to have left it. But basically, we're going to have to do this. So they're going to have to be glued together and painted, whatever version we do. And then we've got these bases here. They're going to have to be painted and primed. Okay, or primed and painted, should I say. And then we're going to do the same on the starboard side here. Alright. So we basically need to do, we get these radiators glued together and primed and everything, so we can prime them at the same time. We could also prime all these parts, whichever ones we're not going to use, it doesn't really matter. But it just makes it easier when we glue these together. We can use some of that brilliant big ammo glue again on them, put the radiators in, and then we won't be marking the paint. And then the outside hedge here can be glued, that edge there. So it'll be a case of priming and painting all of this, and then we're ready to sort of move on. We've also got all this assembly here to do. So we've got, you know, all these flaps, they've all got to be primed and painted as well. So it's sometimes sensible to sort of take a few steps forward, and then you're only cleaning your airbrush out once, rather than, you know, doing the black and the grey, and then doing this black and silver, and then doing this black and grey, and then doing this black and grey. It's sometimes better to get everything done up front. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is get these parts off to get these radiators together, and then probably get these parts off. Or in the meantime, actually, what I'm going to do is go and check references and make a firm decision what we're going to do. Flaps down, flaps up, radiators open, radiators closed. We'll go from there. So I will see you back here. For me, it'll be about an hour. For you, it'll be like that. Alright, so I've been through my pictures online. There are pictures online. If you search, I'm not going to put any pictures on here for copyright reasons, but if you search captured RAF Bf109, you will find this actual aircraft. 15270, is it? 15720, 15270, one of those, isn't it? 15270. That actual aircraft there, you will find pictures of it online. And all but one of them has the radiators, has everything, sorry, one of them has everything closed, all of the rest have the radiators open, and most of them have the flaps down. So it's either going to be Y or Z for me on this one. I'm not quite sure. We shall see. So basically I'm going to be going for this. Now I've got these parts off for the actual radiators themselves. This is the port, clearly marked. This is fantastic kit engineering, Airfix. Well done to you. They've got massive P's on there to show that it's port. And also they're made in such a way that they can't be assembled wrongly. Well, they can if you're a complete and utter idiot. But, you know, even I can't make a mistake there. So that's really nice. So they will go together like that. And just drop of cement in there and a drop of cement in there. And then I'm just going to push them down on the bench and make sure they're flat, because they do have a little bit of movement in them. Okay, and the same here, you can see these will go together. But they do have a, you can see there is a tiny bit of movement in them, so we'll get them flat. So a drop of cement in there and that'll wick around. And we can see the S and the P inside there still, so we won't get mixed up there. Okay, so that's that. So that's those done for port and starboard. So then, if we're going for X, which is everything closed, then we're going to use this piece here, E11. But I'm not going to have them closed, I'm going to have them open. So I'm not sure if I'm having the flaps open or not. So we're going to use this one here. So it's going to be E15. Okay, so this is the E sprue. So we are going to not use E11, which is there. So I'm going to take this one off. I like to take off the parts I'm not going to use. And that way, put that over there. That way, like if you're not going to use these two bits here, you end up keeping the sprue just for those two bits that you're not going to use. So I like to get rid of sprues as fast as I can, so I can get rid of the great big box, but make sure you keep the label, the sticker on the back. Okay, so there's E15. Okay, so I'm going to use my god hands to remove that sprue gate from there, and that one from there. Quick clean up. Just like so. And then turn over. So this is going to be the port one. So we've got this step on this one, so that's forward, or forward in this image anyway. And that radiator's got to glue in there. Now I've had an idea. What I'm going to try and do, it doesn't seem to be sitting down properly. Seems to be a bit of a gap. Anyway, it doesn't really matter if it closes up, that's fine. What I've had an idea is, what they're telling us to do now, when we come over the page, they're telling us to glue these ends on. So if we're doing any of them, the ends are the same, E23, E24, so that's okay. So we'll get the ends, and my idea is to try and glue the ends on without the radiator, and then the silver painted radiator can just drop in when we fit it to the wing. So you can see now we're starting to lose most of this sprue, so we can get rid of it. When you end up with just a couple of sprues, you can get rid of the box, which is great. Right, so we'll get that off of there, get that off of there. We've got ejector pin marks. Ejector pin marks, ejector pin marks. A couple of you have said now in the comments, thank you for not playing horrible music. Can you tell me if it's what you're talking about? I don't understand why all of a sudden people are saying, you know, thank you for not playing horrible music. Is somebody else putting music in their videos or something, or is it become a thing? Maybe you want me to put music in. I don't know. I don't understand. No comprende. No comprende. Right, so we've got horrible ejector pin marks in there. You can see them on the inside. So they're going to have to go. So we're going to do the other side as well. So this is the starboard side. So F24 and F23 will have to be done as well. So I'm going to get those off. I get those ejector pin marks filled. But what the objective here is I'm wondering if I can glue these on like that. Okay, and then basically have them glued on the ends, and then have the radiator just drop in, so we can glue those on however they go. They go like that. Okay, so glue those on like that, and then just drop the radiators in afterwards. I think that's going to be the way to go. But what I'm going to do is grab my F screw. We can get rid of most of this. So we'll cut through there, through there, through there. See, what I like to do, guys, this is what I love to do, is get rid of. So now we've got that rather than that great big frame. Okay, we'll get rid of those little sticky out bits because they get caught up in things. So all we've got is that now in the box rather than that great big frame. So there we go. Right, I'm going to get those bits off, those other bits off F, and we'll get rid of the ejector pin marks in there. Well, that's pretty annoying, isn't it? If you look at these parts, these are the F parts, okay, for the starboard wing. Just notice they've got port assembly closed there. It's not, it's starboard. And you can see they've got the ejector pins in where the radiator is going to go, so the radiator will cover them up. So Mr. F Sprue did a great job. Mr. E Sprue decided to put some great big ejector pin marks outside of the radiator area. So thanks for that, Mr. F Sprue, and thank you very much, Mr. E Sprue. You fail, you win. You get a cheeseburger, you don't get anything. Right, alright, so we've got those ejector pin marks filled there. We'll let that super glue dry off. I tend not to put accelerator on it because it tends to bubble. Sometimes you get air pockets and you have to end up filling it again. So I've glued these ends on here. This is the starboard one now. So this is basically going to go, how's this going to fit? That's the front, isn't it? It's going to go like that in there, is it? Or is that the front? I think that's the front, isn't it? Yeah, because that's going to go into there like that. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now I haven't glued this radiator in. I haven't fully glued the ends. I've just tacked them. So we should be able to slide that radiator up and out. I think a bit of cement's got on it actually, on that end. That's a shame. Come on, out you come. Yeah, it's managed to get some cement on it. Ugh. Yeah, because I glued it there like a numbskull. And the glue is gone. Come on. Out you come. There we go. Right. Oh, it actually went in from behind. I actually glued it here and the very back, and it actually got in from behind. Look. So quick little clean up on there. But basically now what we can do is fully glue them, and we can paint that, and then we can slot the radiator in like so, and not worry about silver paint and grey paint mixing up and everything, or having to mask stuff properly and all that. So we'll get some cement into there. Did I get any in there? There we go, just in case. And then that can be left to dry. And then we've got a little seam down here to deal with. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be there or not. But there we go. So quick clean up on there. Get rid of that glue mark. And there we are. Right. So just do a quick check once more. Everything's nice and square. That's great. They'll easily be tweakable anyway. Right, so wait for that super glue to dry, rub those ejector pin marks out and get some painting done. Now looking back here, I'm also going to build this unit, this lot up here. So we've got X, this is close, so we're not going to be doing that. We've got Y and Z. So F14, F13, F14, F13. So we're using the same parts, E16, E10, E16, E10, E6. Using the same parts, but the only bit you're changing are these hinges here where it's going to be either closed or open. So we'll get those off the sprue, get them cleaned up, and then we'll look at the hinges. Alright, so I'm glad I did look forward to this because we have these flaps here going on the back of the radiator and they've got ejector pin marks in them. So if you're doing it all closed up, you don't need to worry about it. But if you're doing the Y or the Z option or Z option, then you want to get rid of them. Now they are recessed, they're not raised, so you're not just going to be able to sand them out. So they do need to be filled. Okay, so you can see we have three ejector pin marks on each of them. It's also not a very flat surface. It looks like they've tried to polish the tooling to get the ejector marks smaller, but unsuccessfully. Right, so what we will do, this is the black thin super glue from VMS, absolutely wonderful stuff, and I've got a little drop here in my Pringles lid. This has been in here from doing those, so it's slightly thickened, but it doesn't matter. And what we'll do is we'll put a drop in each of these holes, and what I do is build it up because it does shrink. So if you just cover the hole, what will happen is it will shrink back. So I tend to put lots in, so you end up with like a dome of glue in there. Otherwise you've just got to come back and do it all again. Okay, so sorry, I'm almost off camera there. I'm sat right back here, sorry guys. Lounging around instead of concentrating on what I'm doing for you. So we are, so that's one. I'm going to put some more glue in there, get the rest done, and then I guess I'll do another kit review or something because I'm going to have to wait for ages for this to dry. See you in a minute. And we're back. So as you can see, we've got all those ejector pin marks filled, so hopefully they won't be visible under a coat of paint. If not, we'll have to go over them again. I've built up, that's the one I did earlier. This is the other one. So that's all done, and that radiator is just sliding in and out, and you can see that in there we've done those ejector pin marks as well. So that's all nice. I'll wait for that glue to go off and then I'll sand the bottom nice and flush. Be careful, there's raised rivets on here, but I want to get that all sanded out nicely. So there we go. While I was waiting, I got on with these exhausts and I painted them with that typhoid corrosion, whatever it's called, from Games Workshop, and I've given them a quick dry brush with a MIG ammo dry brush, which did quite a nice job, and then I've gone over them with a rust coloured oil. So I think they look pretty good. I think they need more work. They don't look rusty enough. I want to get the pastels on there, the pigments. Now it's very strange. I find it hard to believe they rust, but looking at the Gary Boxall book, which I have to do a review on for you on the Kotari K4, he had photographs of rusty exhausts. So I don't think the Spitfire ones rust like this, but they were actually properly rusty. So and they would probably rust more when the aircraft's just stood around, and certainly this aircraft being an RAF, you know, plaything really, would have been stood around a lot. So certainly the pictures I can see the exhaust look very dull, but they're black and white, so it's hard to tell. So anyway, here we are going for the Y or the Z option. Okay, so you can see that the Y and the Z uses the same parts. Okay, so we have, oh hang on, do they? Port assembly uses K34 and K37. Oh no. So this is obviously the closed up one, so we're not going to use those. So what we need to do now is decide whether we're going to have the flaps open or the flaps left horizontal. I'm not quite sure why they use different parts. We've got the K-sprue here. Oh no, we've got more ejector pin marks. Oh, but it looks like they might be proud. Yes, I think they are, so we can sand them off. Bloody hell. So yeah, in fact they might even be hidden up the side of the radiator. No, they won't be. No, they won't be. But they're gonna have to. If we have to fill them, we have to fill them. We'll have to stop again. On bloody hate ejector pin marks. Or if manufacturers, please make ejector pin raised so we can just sand them off. So yeah, I need to decide now what I'm doing. Am I going for Y or am I going for Z or Z? Let's have a little think. Hang on. Okay, I've decided what I'm going to do. This being the RAF one, I think I'm going to have the flaps up, but the radiators open. Okay, and then the other plane, the other model, when it stood next to it, will look a little bit different with everything all hanging out. So we'll go for Y. For Y. So there's our port assembly there, and there's our starboard assembly there. So we can put those as they would be on the aircraft with it looking. No, sorry, it's going to be like that, isn't it? Okay, so aircraft going that way, port, starboard. So let's get these all sat the way so don't get any glue on them. So what I'm going to do here, I want K39. So we'll get our little god hands out. K39 is this one here. Remember, with god hands, always go right up to the bottom if you're going to use them for cutting parts off sprues. Don't use the very end. So K39 and K32. K32, so it's each end of the spectrum. Okay, so that's that. So now we can use our god hands to trim that sprue gate off of there and that sprue gate off of there. Give that a little sand. Okay, and then we'll give this a little sand as well. Get rid of those sprue gates. There we are. And then the same on here. Just like so. Is that little step supposed to be on there, or was that a sprue gate? What's the other side? K38. Yeah, that little step's supposed to be on there. The sprue gate's in the middle. So don't go sanding that off. That little tiny nubbin on the end there, you can see it sticking out. Okay, and then what we've got to do is turn this over. No, that ejector pin mark is recessed. Oh, bloody hell. Airfix. Oh, I had this one as well. Oh, I could swear using an F word. Oh, fuck it off. So we'll have to fill those and get them sanded out, which means waiting around. So they're the port ones. Those are out of the way. By the way, with these, I put their numbers on the back on a bit of tape so I don't get them mixed up. So that one's E10 and E16. So that's port and starboard. So over here we've got K33 and K38. So I'm going to get these off the sprue now. K33 there, and K38. We'll get those off and we'll get them cleaned up. And once again, yeah, they've got recessed ejector pin marks on them as well. Now, just in case you're building one of these, if you're doing the Z option, those ejector pin marks are raised. So K34 and K37, no, they're recessed. So, alright, so they're done. I've decided to use some blaster. This is the Deluxe Materials Rocket Blaster. It's bloody brilliant. And what I do now, I just put a cocktail stick in it, dab it in the super glue, and you can see I've done this about a minute ago and it's starting to go already. Unfortunately, sometimes you do get bubbles and then you have to go over it again, but I can't sit around waiting for a couple of hours for the super glue to dry again. I've done that once today and life's too short. What I'm going to do, I think, now that I'm waiting for that to dry, I might even do it right now, is get my other kit and go through all these parts and put some super glue in them so that when I come to do them I can just sand them. It's really annoying. The thing is with ejector pin marks, they're something you have to fill. Yeah, okay, that's absolutely fine. But the trouble is, particularly when you're making videos, it really upsets the flow. It just, you know, because you get the parts off, you glue them on, you get it primed, you get it painted, you fit it to the aircraft, you know, blah, blah, blah. But if you keep having to bloody stop to do these sort of things, it's really annoying. Every kit manufacturer is guilty of it. Some are much worse than others. But as I always say, a company called Modelsvit, which I think are Ukrainian, they don't have ejector pin marks. So if they can do it, why can't everybody else? You know. But yeah, really annoying. On those they could have put they could have put a little you know, a little bridge across there, or had an ejector tab on there you could just cut and sand off. They didn't have to do that, surely. Hey-ho. So there we go. So what we can do now is we can take all these other hinges, these here, okay. In fact, with these here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to fill them now, and then I can put them in the other kit box, because these are the ones for the open radiators. So I'm going to fill them. In fact, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to show you how I use that rocket, how it works. It'd be great for the newer modelers out there. I'm going to put the drop in there. Okay, nice big mound. Never go shallow with it. Always go high. Nice big mound in there, just like that. Okay. Let's put a drop more in there, I think. And then I'm going to take the top off this, and then I'll show you what I do. I literally dip the cocktail stick in. I haven't split the end or anything to turn it into a quill. I've just literally, it's an ordinary cocktail stick. Drop on the side, and then one in the middle. Drop on the side, one in the middle. And that'll be enough to set them going. So I'll put them over there. Now I think these are actually raised. Put the lid back on there in case I knock it over. I do wish manufacturers would be like Tamiya and make their bottles sort of a larger footprint so they're not so easy to knock over. Yeah, these ejector pin marks on here are raised. So if you're doing the Z or the Z version, I'm sorry I keep saying Z. I did some of my growing up in America, so it's just habit. There we go. So that's pretty cool. Right. Onwards and upwards, as they say. So we'll wait for that to dry on these parts here, and then we can get on and assemble these, and then we'll be ready for priming and painting. Alright, so all sanded out now. So what are we doing? We've got, this is the port assembly, so we've got E16 on the top. I don't need this radiator. So E10 on the bottom. Okay, so we've got E10 on the bottom, that's that way round. And then we've got this piece here, the shorter one obviously goes on the shorter side. Would this be easier to fit into the top first? I think it would. So this is E16. So this one is going to go, got some swarf dust in there. Also, the other thing I'd forgotten, knocking the super glue over, just scrape out that little actuator arm there, just remove any mold seams on there. Right, so this arm here, that's going to go in the shorter side, so that's going to fit into there like that. Like so. So that's lovely. Right, so that's impossible to hold. So I'm going to get a drop of extra thin quick setting. Just put it in there. Okay, and then the other side is going to go in like that. It's got these lovely locations on here. It really is well engineered, this model, except for the bloody ejector pin marks. Just joking. Okay, and then okay, we've got a step in there, so this is going to let these dry off a bit harder first, I think. Oh no, they're good enough to go. So that's going to go like that. Alright. And that side's going to sit in there. So what I'm going to do is glue one side first with the quick setting. Make sure it's about the right level. Did I just let glue go under my finger? I thought I did. Bloody hell, that was close. Oh, come on. Right, so that's going to stick onto there like that. And then this side. Pull my glasses up so I can see what I'm doing again. Okay, so we've got to somehow try and hold this together without putting our fingers anywhere near the join, because we don't want to wick the glue under our fingers, do we? There we go. So that is basically going to fit, I'm guessing like that, onto the back of there. It's really nice, isn't it? So I'm just going to brush some extra thin into there, and brush some more into there, and then turn it over, because one of those joints broke and I don't remember which one it was. There we go. That's bloody lovely, isn't it? Look at that. This model just keeps on giving, doesn't it? It's bloody awesome. Right, so I'll do the same on the other side, and then I'm going to let them dry. Somebody suggested I should do mugs and t-shirts with my logo, and going to let that dry. Going to let them dry. Leave it to dry, something like that. We shall see. Right, see you in a minute. Just having a look at how this fits. This is all dry fitted together. So we've got that lower wing section on there, which is absolutely gorgeous. I think what I'm going to do is put a peg on here just to hold it in place. Right, so, and then this is the starboard radiator. So that's the front. So you can see we've got a tab, a slot there, and that tab on the radiator is going to go in there. So this is literally going to drop down into here, give it a little squeeze, and it drops down in there like that, and you'll feel that tab go in. There you go. That tab goes in. It leaves a little gap here. Okay, and then literally you come along with your, like this, your flaps, your radiator flaps, and that's just going to sit on that ledge there. So you're going to put a run of cement down there and just glue that in place. Look at that. It's absolutely bloody gorgeous. It stays there on its own, look, if you hold it up. So you can see it from underneath as well. It is absolutely gorgeous. Now what I'm going to do on these ends, I'm going to sand them and get rid of these seams on the ends to try and make it look as one, because I'm not sure how it should look. But I always find it with modelling, glue seams look like glue seams, and however you try to make them look like something else, it doesn't work. They always look like glue seams. So we should be able to sand those out, a bit of Mr. Surfacer in there or something, and that should do us. Okay, but really impressive. I'm going to leave those stickers on there so I can see which side's which, because it's, I'm just wondering if you can tell from the images here. So this is the starboard and this is the port. Oh, I'm doing this one, aren't I? This is the starboard and this is the port. So can I tell from looking at this that that is the starboard? Yeah, kind of. I'll leave the tape on there, I may as well. Doesn't matter, does it? And then what we'll do is we're going to get all this painted. So the next bit now is making up the flaps. Now this is some clever design in fair play. This is, I think it was Matt designed this, wasn't it? I mean, this is bloody brilliant. Look at this. So if you're using X and Y, so basically the flaps are up, you remove these two inner pegs. So it will sit on those outer pegs, which will keep it horizontal. If you're going to have them down, you remove these two inner pegs. Sorry, if you're going to have them down, you remove these two outer pegs, and that's going to have them down at an angle. So what they've done, they put straight pegs and angled pegs on one piece, and all you've got to do is cut the respective tabs off to get it right. Unbelievable, brilliant engineering. So and it's so simple too. And then we've got the ailerons going together. The ailerons are in halves. So yeah, we've got that to do. Slats if you're having drop slats. A, B, C and E. We've got the just a blank K4 there. If you're going for the D, you're going to have the it's for the Morine antenna, isn't it? And then here we're getting on with the bulkhead. So coming together really well. As I say, I've just got this work done. Something I was wondering actually before I go off camera, I'm just going to try something. I'm going to see if we can actually remove this radiator from its... Can we put that in there and then fit this over the top? Does that work? Not without gluing it, I don't think. Try once more. Yeah, best stick to the instructions, I think. Okay, so there we go. Just everything just clips into each other, and it just becomes one. Also, remember we've got to paint this a different colour on the back here. So there we are. So we've got our we're getting there. The other thing I was going to show you, I've got a bag of parts here. I keep meaning to show you this. These are all the parts we're not going to use. But if you remember the talks about Airfix masks peeling off. Still on there. Hasn't peeled at all. So, and that's not even, well, it's a washed part, isn't it? Sorry, to be fair, it is washed. But that's and if you remember, I did the test with this. This isn't even fresh. It's been on and off about 5 times. Absolutely bloody awesome. So yeah, really pleased with that. Right, I'm going to call it a day because I've now got to do a load of painting. I've got to do priming, XF22, and I've also got to come up with a plan for these undercarriage legs because we've got to fit them into there. So, or do we? Yes, we've already got the undercarriage legs in there, and that bulkhead piece as well. I've actually jumped ahead quite a long way here. But the other thing I want to do, just before I go away, look at this. 2 square pegs on there. 2 square holes. Look at that. But obviously that needs just pulling up. It's bloody gorgeous. It's absolutely bloody gorgeous. She's a beauty for sure. Right. So the other thing is we can carry on doing all this without fitting the wings to the fuselage. You can just do the wings, and then once you've, I mean, you could really go on and on. Yeah, I mean, if you want to, then just come back and put the bulkhead and everything later. But there we go. Right, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay with the instructions, but I just wanted to go ahead so I can get a load of assemblies ready to prime and paint. And we've achieved that, and we've filled in a million ejector pin marks, and we've even done work on our next kit already. So, well, we've already done the engine, haven't we? So that's one thing. Alright, so I'll see you all soon for part 12. This is 11, isn't it? So I'm going to go and get painting and priming done, or priming and painting, and I'll see you all for then. Thank you for watching. Any questions, any comments, pop them down below, and if you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe and give us a thumbs up. It all helps to promote the channel. I'll see you all soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.